Wing Commander. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future. The year is 1990. For years, if you had wanted to play a space combat game and pretend that you were in the cockpit of your own fighter, you had to go find an arcade. Worse, what you were probably going to end up with is something that showcased vector-based graphics. That wasn't bad per se, but games of that particular genre, like the old Star Wars arcade, had been available for several years prior. Space combat fans wanted more, and in 1990, they got it. To put it in modern terms, Wing Commander was the graphical equivalent of Crysis in its day. The question of, yes, but can I play Crysis in the late 2000s, was the same in the early 90s with, yes, but can it play Wing Commander? In this day and age, system requirements like 12 MHz CPU and 256 color VGA card seem nonsensical, but for the past, games like Wing Commander truly helped to set industry standards for both video games and technology. So renowned is Wing Commander and its creator Chris Roberts that even now, 23 years after the release of the original game, fans of the space combat genre, both old and new, have given a total of $35 million to date for what many are hoping is going to be the next generation of the genre in Star Citizen. I myself am a backer of this particular project and have made several videos on the subject. Through those videos, I've received the question multiple times of why I would back a project years ahead of release. And while I've answered on occasion, with the new year I thought the best way to answer that question would be to actually showcase the game series that first got me interested in the genre, Wing Commander. So what is so special about Wing Commander? Well, for many, it was one of the first games that they played that involved an in-depth story, characters that they could get a feel for as individuals, and what I personally enjoyed with the series as a whole was the idea that your gameplay choices had an effect on what happened throughout the course of the game. Had a wingman die in combat? Guess what? You're not going to see that wingman in the game any longer. Perform poorly or maybe failed a mission? The game continues regardless, with unique paths for both good and poor gameplay performance. Simply put, you felt invested in the series, especially as you played each sequel as it came out. Characters returned, aged as the game's timeline moved on, but they would reference past exploits just like how one would in real life. And it all started with this, the original Wing Commander. The year is 2654. For 20 years, the Terran Confederation, a democratic republic of hundreds of systems, has been in a state of war with the Empire of Kilra, a brutal regime that rules with an iron fist and cares little for friendly relations with others. Dozens of planets have been rendered lifeless. Billions of humans have been slaughtered, while others have been made slaves by their conquerors. Your name is Christopher Blair. 24 years old, you've just recently graduated from the academy and have received a posting on board the TCS Tiger's Claw. The Tiger's Claw is a Bengo-class strike carrier, and much like the carriers of old on Earth, she provides quick strike capabilities with her fighter and bomber assortment. You are one of her pilots, but you're not the only one. We'll have plenty of companions along the way, even some rivals. And with that, let us embark on the beginning of what I feel is one of the best video game series ever created, Wing Commander. Now, many of you may be wondering how it came about that I'm recording Wing Commander today, considering that the game is 23 years old. For that, I have DOSBox and GOG.com to thank for. DOSBox is capable of playing the game and many others, while GOG.com has the entire Wing Commander saga available in their game library for purchase. I'll put a link in the description for purchasing each game. But enough rambling. Let's talk about what we're seeing here. The first option is to start the Vega campaign. Vega is the name of the sector that the Tiger's Claw is going to be operating from, and is the storyline campaign we'll be going through. Continue campaign simply allows us to load from our previously saved campaign. Now, secret missions, that's something different. Remember that this is the days before downloadable content. After the success of the original game released in September of 1990, the team at Origin basically created the idea of expansion packs with the secret missions, in that you needed to have the base game of Wing Commander in order to play the secret missions. The first secret mission release was in December of that same year, while the second secret mission release was in April of 1991. These were quick-fire releases to be sure, but they definitely continued the story seen in Wing Commander, and were a fantastic way to set the tone for the release of Wing Commander 2 in September of '91. We'll be playing through the entirety of the Vega campaign and through both Secret Mission expansions before moving on. Let's get started. Well, that didn't give us much time to fly anything, did it? Don't worry, that was just the train sim. It's basically a combat flight simulator that allows the player to practice their skills in a simulated combat setting against several different types of Kilrathi spacecraft, while we fly one particular Confed fighter. Our dying as quickly as we did was not my fault. No, seriously, it wasn't. Because at the start of the game, we need to decide on our character's last name and our call sign. But J2, you said earlier that our name was Christopher Blair, didn't you? That's right, I did. But the name Christopher Blair wasn't actually set as the name of the protagonist in the Wing Commander series until Wing Commander 3, when the use of full-motion video and an actual actor to play the character, Mark Hamill, required the need to say what the character's name actually was. Until that point, players at home were able to choose their own name and call sign. Even at Origin, the character's most commonly used name was Blue Hair, in reference to, you guessed it, his blue hair, which you'll see a bit later in-game. In fact, you can probably see how easily they made Blair from Blue Hair. Get it? But due to the fact that we'll be playing through the entirety of the main series, I thought it would be best if we would use the same name that other characters will be calling us down the road anyway. Hence, we're going to write in our last name as Blair, and I'll refer to the character as Christopher Blair. Now, the call sign for Christopher Blair has another interesting story behind it. Again, it wasn't until Wing Commander 3, this time in its novelization, that his official call sign was Maverick. The explanation of the Maverick call sign was that Blair was pretty much a by-the-book straight shooter, and while not intended as mockery, it was an irony that somehow befit his status. However, it's not the only call sign that he's ever been given, or taken for himself. In the Sega CD version of Wing Commander 1, yeah, they made console versions of the game too, he's given the call sign of Hotshot, this time perhaps to showcase his young, fresh-faced eagerness right out of the academy and into the Terran-Kilrathi War. In the Wing Commander movie, ooh, I felt that. I felt that a wince and gasp for breath that came from each and every one of you. It was like I just punched you in the gut. You probably thought that being as much a fan of Wing Commander as I've spoken about, that I would consider the Wing Commander movie to have never existed. Well, sorry to disappoint, but as Chris Roberts was the director and handler of the movie, as well as the series, you have to at least afford it some recognition, even if you think it to be terrible, which I do, but not as terrible as anything after the first Highlander. Anyway, in the movie and the following sequel novels, bet you didn't even know they wrote sequels based on the movie. Blair eventually chooses Pilgrim as his call sign. This was an obvious reference to the Pilgrim story arc that the movie gives the character. Now, there is one more call sign that Blair uses for himself in certain situations, but as that involves a heavy plot point in the series, I don't want to spoil for anyone who watches these videos not having heard of Wing Commander, I don't want to spoil it for you. And I'd ask those who do know what I'm speaking of, don't spoil it either. Anyway, again, since we're going off canon, so there's little confusion when the series actually starts, giving that moniker, we're going to go ahead and go with Maverick here. Here we can see the current high scores for the train sim. Griffin and Potshot are just two generic fighter pilots, but the other names in this chart are pilots that we'll have the opportunity of flying with in-game. The leader, Knight, is Joseph Kumalo, who earned his moniker by saving his wing leader and was regarded as her White Knight. Iceman's real name is Michael Casey, who got his call sign because he's seen as one of the more ruthless pilots in the fleet. Finally, Spirit is Tanaka Mariko. She's only been out of the academy a year herself, and Spirit is a loose translation of her Japanese instructors having called her Kami. Now I think it's about time we had ourselves a drink. Let's hit the bar. Welcome to the Tiger's Claw Bar. Now it's also referred to as a rec room, but to me, if all I can see here is a bartender tending bar, and two pilots sitting at a table with drinks in hand, I'm gonna call it like I see it. Now this is basically a place of relaxation and cool down after a hard mission. What's really novel about this is that it's in the bar that you'll hear the best kept tips, tricks, and secrets of the game all by interacting with the characters that you'll see frequented. Not something that a lot of games at the time did. Here we find the train sim, and now that I think about it, it's interesting how history repeats itself. Right now, at the time of this recording, gamers are clamoring for the Star Citizen dogfighting module, and here, within Wing Commander, is one of the first examples of a dogfighting module as part of a larger game. Shot glass. His real name is Sam, and he's the ship's only bartender. Before he served bar, though, he was one of the Tiger's Claw pilots until he took some wounds that put him on the no-fly. He's a great example of what I was talking about earlier, a source of information, especially about the flying habits of your fellow pilots. You want to know if someone's going to shoot first and ask questions later, or maybe be a bit more defensive? Ask Shot Glass. Hell, he'll even tell you about Karathi pilots eventually. Besides Christopher Blair, James Taggart is my next favorite character from the Wing Commander series. At this point, he's been a Confed fighter pilot for about 25 years. He's got a reputation around the Tiger's Claw as senior pilot, especially regarding the protection of his juniors if he's flying wing. Every now and again, some pilots prank Paladin and change the call sign on his fighter to Mother Hen, but everyone knows it's done out of affection. What not many know, even to those that have played the game, is that Paladin was actually part of the crew of the TCS Aisin, the first ship to make contact with the Kilrathi. Obviously, as you would expect, first contact didn't go so well, and the ship was destroyed. Paladin was flying patrol in a fighter at the time of the destruction, and he himself was captured and unofficially became the first prisoner of war of the Empire of Kilra. He remained a prisoner for 3 years before managing an escape and reported back to Confed. Angel, Angel, Angel. Her real name is Jeanette Devereaux, and she's currently 28 years old and is ranked as a captain on board the Tiger's Claw. Just a reminder, there can be multiple captains when it comes to pilots. Their ranks work a bit differently than a pure naval vessel. At this point in the series, Angel's been in service to Confed for a little over 4 years. She's especially skilled with weaponry, and she's found a close friendship with Spirit, as both are women and pilots in a male-dominated military. Trust me when I say that there's a lot more to come from our dear Angel. Let's take a look at the pilot's scores. Here we can see a list of currently active pilots on board the Tiger's Claw, along with the number of sorties and the number of confirmed Kilrathi kills each of the pilots have. Out of the pilots here, we still haven't spoken about a few. Major Chen is Kian Chen, whose call sign is Bossman. His call sign used to be Ripper before he changed it after seeing other green pilots attempt to imitate his flying and get killed. Captain St. John is Ian St. John, call sign of Hunter. He's an outback Australian, and remember this is 1990, so be prepared for a bit of stereotyping. That leaves us and Second Lieutenant Marshall, Todd Maniac Marshall. Maniac and Blair graduated from the academy together, and both received postings to the Tiger's Claw. Suffice to say, we're rivals. And that's it for the bar. Let's go check out the barracks for the pilots of this Confed vessel. Here we can see one of the barracks for the Tiger's Claw. We've just come from the bar area, which I'll note the game here does call it a bar. Let's check our medals. As you can see, we are Second Lieutenant. It looks like we're currently located in the Enyo system, and the date line is 2654.110, but as you can plainly see, very little decoration on our jacket. We'll need to fix that. There's not really much else to speak of here in the barracks area. As you can see, it's more than a little worse for wear. Also, it seems like some of my fellow pilots here don't know how to look after themselves. On the flip side, it looks like it's cohabitation here in the future. Just saying. Past the dripping water bucket, we can find the hatch leading to the original DOS exit. Gotta love the advent of DOSBox in today's era of next-gen gaming. Here's the mission briefing area. We'll be receiving missions here from Colonel Halcyon, commander of the 88th Fighter Wing that we're assigned to. Let's head back over to the bar area. It's high time we got ourselves more acquainted with our fellow pilots and cohabitants on board the Tiger's Claw. Gotta be polite after all. Remember that I said that one of the biggest things about Wing Commander that I loved was the fact that your choices and game decisions mattered. Even the smallest things like talking to individuals here on the ship make a difference too, as far as your gameplay is concerned. They teach you a few things. Like Shot Glass here, for instance. Let's go ahead and talk to him. You must be Maverick. I'm Shot Glass. Welcome aboard the Claw. Used to be a pilot myself, till the Fleabag shot me up so bad I couldn't fly. Guess I flew with most every pilot on the Claw. So if you want to know how one pilot or another flies, old shot glass is the guy to ask. Love that smile. Stop by when you're off duty and we'll talk more. Well, there you go. And if you noticed, the actual voice, if someone was speaking, would match the words that were spoken with the lips. They match. Really cool. And I tried to do like a voice thing for each one of these characters. It takes way too long. I have no time for that. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I did, because it's fantastic. Plus, I can't do accents very well. So, you're stuck. Let's talk to Paladin here. Oh, laddie, take a seat and tilt a glass with old Paladin. See, Scottish? I can't do Scottish. It's not gonna happen. I like their smiles, like the big pauses, too. It's like, when are you gonna talk, guy? I recall once when I was a lieutenant like yourself there. We were flying patrol or Accord, the fourth planet in the Alliance system. These 4 Kilrathi Salthi came zooming in with the sun at their backs. What is the point, monsieur? There is one. We? I love that. I was leading up to it, lass. That day we learned that a Salthi will always turn to the left. Apparently all my accents are southern. It's got something to do with the way the engines on the ducts are arranged. So when you tail a Salthi, watch to the left. That's where it'll go when it makes his break. Yeah, all southern. Yeah, like I said, can't do a Scottish accent at all, guys. I really tried. Couldn't do it. So this is now kind of what you're gonna get used to. But there you go. It actually follows. If you follow that direction, if you follow that advice, it makes sense in the game. That's why Paladin is telling you this. Remember, Paladin's also been flying around for 25 years. Something good to talk to. Bonjour, Lieutenant. You are called Maverick, no? I am called Angel. Yes, it's Angel, not Angel. I am just reviewing some figures on our recent encounters with the Kilrathi. Really? Didn't figure you for a number cruncher. You would like to know what I have learned, perhaps? When did I go Russian? The Dralthi is the Kilrathi fighter seen most in this sector. Yeah, I'm going Russian. What the hell? These figures show that 1.4 missiles are required to destroy the Dralthi. That's because I don't know what Belgian sounds like. That's probably why. While 7 direct laser hits are necessary to destroy the same vessel. Yeah, I just went full Russian there. I hope this information is useful to you, Lieutenant. She actually looks kind of Russian. The kind of straight lines, anyway, kind of makes sense. Shut up, all right? I'm trying to survive here as far as this goes. Now that's enough terrible voice acting. Let's showcase some actual flying in this game by using the train sim that's available to us here in the bar. Be forewarned, when flying, I will be using an actual joystick. It's a Thrustmaster, but not the expensive kind. I haven't gotten used to the mechanics of it yet, and it seems the joystick itself isn't as responsive as I'd like it to be. No, I'm not giving an excuse in the first episode for my subsequent poor performance. Really? What kind of guy do you take me for, anyway? Here we can see a selection of 4 enemy fighters for us to choose from. In the top left, we have the Salthi. In the bottom left, we have the Dralthi. Upper right, we have the Cran. And bottom right, we have the Gratha. Now, in the train sim, we will always fly the F-36 Hornet. It's a light fighter that basically is your typical starter ship. When using the Hornet, you'll pretty much want to keep moving as the armor and shielding on the craft are at the bare minimum. The comparative enemy space fighter would be the Salthi. Now remember that we've already learned a fantastic tip from Paladin. Due to poor designing on the part of the Kilrathi, the Salthi spacecraft literally cannot turn right. The Dralthi is a medium-class fighter. Along with better shielding and armor than the Salthi, it can also hold space mines to damage trailing enemy foes. But remember that Angel just gave us valuable information on the Dralthi. It takes either 2 missiles or 7 direct laser hits to destroy the craft. The Cran is another medium-class fighter. Many higher-level pilots on the Kilrathi side fly around in a Cran. It has better armor and shields in comparison to the Dralthi, but is less maneuverable. Finally, the Gratha is a Kilrathi heavy fighter. It was actually designed based off of Kilrathi encounters with advanced Confed fighter craft. The armor is weakest on the 2 wings, while the front and rear of the craft are protected. We're going to go ahead and try out with a Salthi. Let's see how we do. Well, I can tell you right away that I'm not enjoying the controls of this damn thing. Alright, well, this is a bit of a situation now, isn't it? This is officially a thing. The very first thing in this series. I can't control my own damn craft. Not a good thing for us to be in, basically. So here's the situation, since you guys can't actually see it happening. The stick that I'm using, the Thrustmaster, it's not exactly accurate to what I'm seeing on the screen. I don't even know if it's going to be accurate to what I'm going to be broadcasting on YouTube when this, video actually showcases itself. But it's it's kind of getting better now. Hold on. So we can see here I'm really doing horribly against this particular spacecraft, the Salty, and not foreboding in the slightest whatsoever. Don't know what you're talking about. We're good here. I've mapped a couple of the buttons here, but it looks like I need to remap or take a look at the DOSBox settings for the joystick here. Right now my trigger is just shoot, and it looks like I don't have control of my missiles, which is a bit of an issue when you are fighting a spacecraft and you are pretty weak. You want to have missiles always at the ready. Now I've locked on to the target, and I use the keyboard for that, so that's another thing. I'll need to get the keyboard controls posted somewhere or map them all to the joystick. The joystick does have a lot of buttons. And there I go. Not looking good for me. Total score of 21,000. Not a good look. Not a good look for J Squared. Just saying. Sorry. Please play again. We didn't even make the high score this time. Oh, I feel so bad for what is to come. Don't even know how I'm going to face it, basically. But oh, you guys didn't see that, right? You guys don't tell anyone that I absolutely screwed the pooch on that, right? Right, Paladin? I'm warning you. All right, let's go ahead and see what we have as far as missions go. I think it's about time that we go ahead and see what our first mission is gonna be like, don't you think? I think so. Should I save? Nah, I'm not gonna save. Mission brief, Enyo system, 0600 hours. We've got a lot of work to do, people, so let's get to it. The Tiger's Claw dropped from jump space 7 hours ago at 0800. Blue Devil Squadron had first patrol. You Killer Bees have the next shift. You rookies will be flying with experienced pilots on your first missions. I want the rookies to fly as wing leaders. You vets, keep an eye on the kids out there. Here are the assignments. Maverick, you're leading Alpha Wing. Spirit will fly on your wing. She's quiet, but she knows the ropes. You're the wing leader, but if Spirit talks, you be sure to listen. Got it? Yes, sir. Good. Here's your patrol plan, then. Computer, display Alpha. You'll check 3 possible jump points at about 20,000 clicks out. There are asteroids near nav points 2 and 3, so stay on course. Any questions? Yes, Commander. What are we to do if we encounter the enemy? Engage, if the odds look good. Let Maverick make the call. Next is Beta Wing. Your thoughts wander as the commander makes the rest of the assignments, and back to the Tiger's Claw. Remember, this is no train sim. If you see the enemy, he'll be out to kill you. Be sure you do it to him before he does it to you. Squadron dismissed. So excited to get started here with you guys. I hope that my passion for this particular game series came to light in this video, and I'm pretty sure it did. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I've kind of scared people away from this, but I've really enjoyed playing Wing Commander in the past, and I really wanted to kind of showcase it in the best possible light and in the easiest way. Wing Commander's been around for some time, and there's a lot of games for it. So I wanted to kind of introduce people to the game series slowly, kind of give them introductions and information early, so that way they can enjoy it just like the rest of the fans out there that know and follow this series as well. I hope that came across in the video. I hope you guys look forward to more episodes. I will definitely be looking forward to recording them. Until next time, this is J Squared John Jeremy signing off, saying so long and take care.